My goal for this video is to provide an informational resource comparing these pickups from my perspective in a very modular form. Hopefully you'll be able to determine a hierarchy for yourself, which I would love to hear about in the comments section. If you've played DiMarzio pickups, the Titan set isn't going to surprise you. Good string clarity and nothing extreme with the output in either direction. I particularly like the reaction of the pick attack and the articulation. So alternate picking isn't crowded, but it's consistent and defined. Compared to its counterparts, I would consider it much more rounded, similar to the effect of bus compression, so the notes are much more glued together. The result is a much more mellow pickup, but a very pleasant voicing. The Juggernauts are intensely characteristic. The peaking frequencies between 2.4 and 3.1 kHz just bully their way through any gain stage, which makes these pickups extremely identifiable. The dynamics of how your hands influence the sound on these pickups are in a complete classification on their own. To my ears, they are the tightest of the four, even without a boost, and they just rip through any mix with ease. So these pickups are extremely flexible and they preserve the character and benefits through any kind of rig. The Ragnaroks live up to their reputation of being an avalanche of aggressive guitar tone. Just massive low end that complements equally as aggressive bass tone, with the string separation maintained by the wonderful production at Bare Knuckle. The added output makes these pickups very forgiving and easy to play, which allows for your hand and your mind to relax a little bit but maintain the punch, which really helps for the live show. In comparison, I really like how it fills a mix, especially with just double-tracked guitars or single-note linear passages. Finally, the Seymour Duncan Alpha Omega set are a convenience store of Periphery guitar tone. They have a huge lower mids presence that just shakes a room but doesn't sacrifice punchy pick attack. The top end is a little smoother than the Bare Knuckles, but the overall voicing is much more meaner than the DiMarzios. Now here is a back-to-back A-B-C-D comparison using the fractal audio model of the Friedman Brown Eye without a boost. Now comparing split coil and clean sounds. The Titans maintain the character of the bridge pickups, but have that pulled back output and bell-like top end that you would expect from splits. And I should mention that the fourth position of the 5-way selector is a parallel sound versus the series sound of the other guitars. The Juggernauts most accurately resemble what I would consider to be a vintage sounding Fender Strat for the splits. And the Ragnaroks have an incredible depth to them that really brings this fullness and life to the sound of the split coil sounds. And to my ears, the split coil sounds of the Alpha Omega set sound like you're playing the guitar through like an old-timey radio. On the side of cleans, I think they all perform well and how you would expect. The humbucker sound is very full-bodied and the split is very chimey. The Alpha and the Titan have like a Petrucci kind of style clean to it, but the Ragnaroks in particular have a lot of oomph and depth to it, and I like that a lot. The lead tones are where I start to notice less of a change due to the amount of gain. Some notes I have would be the Juggernauts are kind of on the pointy side, not as creamy as the DiMarzios or the Duncans, and the Ragnaroks have like this 90s active fatness to them. Now, which one do I think djents the most? It depends, which probably isn't the answer you wanted to hear. For purely the fast, aggressive scraping sound, I would give it to the Ragnaroks. For the low-tuned, lower gain format, if you will, the Ragnaroks and the Omega have this bass-like quality to them, which allows them to sound like you're tuned even lower and just fills the space a little bit more by themselves, which really helps for like single note riffs. And in these situations, the Juggernauts can sound thin. For me, the bass guitar is such a huge part of the overall guitar sound, where I would personally prefer to have the low end managed by the bass guitar and benefit from the precision and dynamics of characteristic upper mids to achieve the same effect. It really just depends on what your bass situation is like or what cab you decide to use. Here is a demonstration of what I'm trying to say: 7-string Duncans versus 7-string Juggernauts with a boost pedal in drop G, with and without bass guitar. When considering which set is the most Periphery sounding, it's difficult because they all are in their own way. Maybe look at your favorite sounding song or album and use that to judge. For me personally, considering the entire catalog, it's the Juggernauts, just because of the response of the upper mids and the perfect amount of low end. And in my opinion, the Titans seem a little bit more complementary rather than independently defining the band sound. There are also differences in availability. The Titan set so far doesn't come in 8-string configuration. The Alpha Omega is just widely available in one color, and the Bare Knuckle Pickups in true BKP fashion are insanely expensive. The Duncans and the DiMarzios, of course, are extremely accessible, at least here in the United States. When it comes to the Bare Knuckles, because they're so popular, a lot of US dealers will have them in stock, but of course you can do custom shop variations in really any kind of option or slanted. Now, my personal favorite, considering everything, is the Juggernaut set. That wasn't an easy or inexpensive decision, and it helps that they're in a really good guitar. I just love the way the notes come together and how versatile the pickups are, and they're responsible for a lot of my passion for tone chasing. Not saying the other sets are bad and they don't fall into similar categories. The Alpha Omega set sounds really good in more conventional tunings and in like death metal settings, which I know is quite the dichotomy. The Titan set is very musical and bubbly, and it has a little bit more meat to them, which sounds really good with synths, and that's kind of hard to do. And the Ragnaroks are just super fun to play because it's insanely easy to get a good tone out of them. If I had to order them, I would say Juggernauts, Titans, Ragnaroks, Alpha, Omega. Let me know what your order is in the comments. That's it for this video. Please subscribe and like.